Okay, I'm going to do this verbally. Uh, I would draw out the fundamental accounting equation, which is assets equals liabilities plus owner's equity or net worth or whatever you want to call it. You got one side is all your assets, and then the other side is how you got those assets. Okay. By the way, I learned a lot of this. I learned financial accounting from Robert Sale's mother at Florida State University. Her name is Geraldine Westmoreland. I'll show how Robert committed fraud using the prestige of Florida State University and his mother, because I believe that she would have looked at that stuff before they just handed it over to me, or sometime thereafter, after she realized it. Or Florida State, same thing, same thing. I trusted in the prestige of both Geraldine Westmoreland and Florida State University as her employer, that it was true and correct when they gave it to me, but it wasn't. Anyway, getting back to the accounting, and I learned consolidating in uh, Tom Schaefer at Florida State University. That's where I took advanced accounting. We're going to talk about that. How when you consolidate your financial statements, you eliminate intercompany transactions, and then you're just left with the whole picture. You know, the conglomeration of all the stuff that's inside of that, all your subsidiaries. You give consolidated financial statements. You don't give the subsidiary, well, depending on who you're reporting to. But anyway, uh, we're just consolidating the entities. I talked earlier about information assets and information liabilities, uh, showing that I have a capital asset, which is in the same amount that they have a liability to me. Like, okay, we've talked about that. It's And then this is just the other side of that. The Long Point Minerals and my former employer and Lynn MacArthur and all them, uh, they have an asset over there. And what I'm doing in both instances is I'm just auditing the other side of the transaction. For example, Long Point Minerals. They can't tell me who their developer is. They have an asset over there on the left, but they can't show me. Like, I'm just testing the right side of it. Like, how'd you get that? You know, who'd you pay for that? Do you know what the developer's name is for that? I'm just testing out the right side of the equation. Same thing on the with well, hell, I'll include Larry Bassford's office currently, uh, and Jack Campbell's office and Florida State University. While they have a liability, they put out a liability. That's a low risk operation. I mean, or I'm sorry, that's a high risk operation. For the return, people don't take risk like that for nothing. You don't go and punch Mike Tyson for nothing. I mean, for nothing. It wouldn't cost you anything to punch Mike Tyson. You would be stupid to do that. It's the same deal. Like, it doesn't cost. I mean, people don't take risks for nothing. Okay, people don't pay money for nothing. You don't overpay the IRS. Not many people would. No, people don't say, I don't think I pay enough taxes, and then just throw in double it. Nobody does that, or most people don't do that. Same deal with risk. You don't go. A lot of people don't go up and punch Mike Tyson. It would cost zero, but you don't do it because the liability you're creating is not worth it. It's the same deal here. It's no different. Why are these people willing to risk their careers for nothing? Okay, so that's the other side of the equation, and we're just consolidating it, like I learned in Tom Schaefer's class. You just eliminate we end up with the accounting equation. We got the left side, the Long Point Minerals, the 1.7 billion. You can make an inference. You could draw a connection between the stuff over on the right that is got the equation's out of balance if you just take one side or the other, and it's reasonable to connect them together. And that makes sense that they would do that. Anyway, so with that, let's do a little, I did a little Python. All right. I go out and grab this is web scraping. I built this in a Python class. By the way, this is also to show that I'm not some tinfoil hat wearing nutcase. Like, I can do stuff like this. The initialize a class, get the session. I'm going out and grabbing okcountyrecords.com. What this is doing, and what I'm doing here, is just going and grabbing all the consideration is what I'm really getting here. And we'll just scroll through, and I'm not going to bore everybody with all that, but that produces, or let's see, I'm getting the consideration. That's the number I'm looking for right there. That's the dollar amounts. And this is hard, like you can't get this from the API, and we'll talk about all that later, but we're going to pay this off here shortly. Okay, so I do all that. That's live data. Live data. I think y'all might have gotten a peek of something right there. Look at that. Okay, so we've seen the graph before, the other one. Let's look at that one. Remember I was showing y'all this one? Let me go and change this to contains long point. Let me stretch that out a little bit. Why is it looking like that? There's something going. What is that? I was fiddling with something. Y'all have seen the graph before on that. That was just the count that I showed you before. Something's wacky with that one. But this is the one that I went and got the other day. Look at this. This is the money that was involved. Bam, bam, bam. And if you want to go and check it out, you can just, like, I got a link to it. You just go click at that one. See, that's $15 million right there. Let's see. Let me just go, everybody. These are just companies that I know. Like, I know that this is them. Okay, that's XP2. That's the Bearded Brothers. Triple O, Luke. Timberwolf is effectively the same thing as Long Point. They can't tell me nobody can tell me who their developer is that did all this stuff. Anyway, you look at this over here. I love this one right here. I believe. Okay, here's a good one. See that vertical line that just jumps off the page? That's Advocate. I believe that's Lynn MacArthur's company right there, if I'm guessing. See, there's that vertical line. You see, what's up with that? 56 million right there. $56 million. Okay. And if all that stuff, if all this money, oh yeah, they got the 575 million on the day, like right there. That's when they got 525 million right there, and it went on to 1.7 billion. Okay, so that's you can see it's reasonable. I got $0.86 billion. Anyway, so if they stole this from me and they can't tell me where they got it, the right side, they got something on the left, they can't show me where they paid for it on the right. Okay. That's because they stole it from me. So when they did that, there's a certain percentage of this, like half, that was like, I wouldn't have just sold it off for $0 or negative dollars, because I'm out here having to suffer for it still to this day. Like, I paid for this. They didn't. Okay. So when they do that, that's called money laundering. When they take it and go buy, like Lynn's house, for example, the one where Lee MacArthur lives at, or their property over there. That's the tip of the iceberg. I guarantee that's money laundering is what that is. And they did it through the mail service, which makes it mail fraud. And they sold it as securities to investors, which makes it securities fraud. So that's money. Anyway, these are bigger fish to fry than trespassing at Florida State when you're an alumnus from Florida State. See, there's $84 million on the top right there. That company right there is owned by the fraternity brother of my former employer's son. Okay, so what a coincidence that is. I mean, these are, you see Long Point, 126 million right there. Bam, bam. Anyway, I'm going to open source the code that produced this, and y'all can go look at it anytime y'all want to. Anyway, that's the right side of the equation. Like, I'm showing what happened. There's the money, and then over there on the other, we got Stefanie Newliln now leading the pack, and She's the one that needs to be in front of the JQC next. They need to know about this at Barbara Hobbs. Well, this is an aggravating circumstance that nobody brought this up during the whole time. Okay. All right. So with that, I'm going to be back later, and I'm about to pay it off. Thank y'all for listening.